Hello there everyone. Today we're going to take a look at how we can create textures for an asset for the sole purpose of using it in a AAA game. Today we're going to use Substance Painter to do our job, to texture our asset. I will assume that you already have your asset ready and modeled and UV unwrapped. This is the asset I'm going to use. This is an armchair made by Octavian, one of my colleagues in the Mitrech team. This is an asset that's going to be available in our upcoming pack. If you want to see all our products, you can head over to mitrech.com/store, and there you will find all our packs, all our products, and basically everything we sell. You can also go to Unity Asset Store and search for our products. In there we have complete packs already made for Unity, but anyway, those are also available on our store, so yeah, feel free to check those out. Okay, so this is an armchair that Octavian has made for me. He has modeled these two versions, so we have a low poly and a high poly. This is an already UV'd asset. You can see the UVs in here. It's nicely UV'd. Everything is already done for us, so we can just head over into texturing and baking and all that good stuff. Alright, so before we do that, there's going to be some problems when baking, and the problems are because all these little objects in here are very close to each other, and this is going to cause what we call bleeding, which basically means that the normals or the ambient occlusion or the maps that we're going to bake will bleed into one another, and that will cause some artifacts, and we don't want that. Now, what we can do to make that happen is the following thing. Now, you see this is a single mesh, so everything is under this mesh, and what we want to do is basically separate all the components of this object. So you can see here we have the armchair and we have the two pillows individually, and we want to do the same thing for this guy right here. And what you're going to do with this is basically we're going to name every object. So this is armchair high poly, this is pillow high, and this is pillow 2 high, and we are going to do the same thing for this. And once we get into Substance Painter, we can tell the baking processing thing, we can tell it to only bake based on names. So so instead of baking the whole asset like this, it is going to bake like the armchair with the armchair, the pillow with this pillow, and the pillow with the other pillow. So basically it's going to match the names, and it's going to bake accordingly, and that way we can get away and not have any bleeding into the objects that are intersecting or close to each other. Alright, so for that I'm just going to edit mode. I use the face selecting tool, and what I'm going to do, I'm just gonna hover over this part of the mesh, over this pillow, press L. That's going to select the whole object, as you can see. And now I'm going to press B and do selection, and now this is a separate object. Now I'm going to do the same for the other pillow, and now we have 3 objects like this. Alright, now what I'm going to do is apply rotation and scale for those, and the next thing is going to be to match the names. So this is called armchair 01 underscore high, and this is called armchair 01 underscore low, which is perfect. Now this is called pillow 2 underscore high. I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna select the other pillow, the low poly one. I'm just gonna paste this, and instead of high I'm going to put low. Alright, and now I'm going to do the same for the other pillow. So like this, and change the high with low. Now everything is perfectly set it up, so we have the corresponding assets like this. The other thing you would want to do is to create an ID map, and you are going to do that on your high poly mesh. I won't do it right now because, as you can see, it's already done. But basically what an ID map is, you go and select your high poly mesh, and what you want to do is add a material over all the parts that are different materials. So what this means is, as you can see, I have the color red for the main part, for the main fabric. Then I use a blue material for the legs here, a green material for this pillow, and this brownish color for the other pillow. Now what is this going to do? So in Substance Painter we can bake something that is called an ID map, and what the ID map does is basically creating a colorful texture map based on the UVs, and it's going to apply a certain color, the color that we just created in the material, to those areas. And then in Substance Painter we can use those colors to mask out different parts. So we can use a single texture and just so it's like this. I'm adding a wood material, and I want that wood material to only be visible on those blue parts. The ID map is what's going to make that happen. Alright, so considering we have everything already set up like I do, so the colors and the names like this, what you want to do is now select the low polys, so the two pillows and the armchair, and you want to export this somewhere on your hard drive. So export FBX. I go into tutorial. I'm gonna rename this armchair low. Okay, I want to export only the selected objects, and I'm gonna press export. Now this is all I need to do, but for you'll have to take the high poly as well, put it in the center. So basically you want to make sure that the high poly is being exported from the same exact position you exported the low poly version. So when I export the low poly version, it was in the center, and now I move the high poly in the center, and I'm going to do the same thing. So select everything that you want to select from the high poly, you go file, export, and do the same thing I've done with the low poly. I won't do that because I already have exported, so it doesn't really matter. Now we are going to jump into Substance Painter, and we are going to do our texturing in the RCU. Alright guys, so now we are back in Substance Painter, and the first thing you want to do is press Ctrl N to pop up a new project. I'm going to do 4K, and I'm going to select my file, which is inside in here. So what you want to import right now is the low poly, the actual object you are going to texture, not the high poly. So I'm going to select my low poly version, click open, and then press OK, and it's going to open my project, my file in here, as you can see. Now the first thing you want to do with every asset that you bring in is you want to do the baking. That's what you want to do first. So I'm going to head over to texture settings, and what I'm going to do is go down here under mesh maps and click bake mesh maps. Now I'm going to choose a low resolution first of 1K, and this is because I always do a test baking first in a low resolution, so it goes faster and I can see if there's any artifacts or errors or whatever. And I do that in a lower version, in a lower resolution, so I don't waste my time doing a 4K or an 8K baking and then to find out that it looks stupid or there's error somewhere. Okay, so I choose like 1K. You can go 512 if you want. 1K is perfect for me right now, and I'm going to press right here. I'm going to choose the high poly version, so this is the one for me. I'm going to click open, and now there's two ways you can bake into your Substance Painter, and that is under here. You see mesh. You can do always or by mesh name. If you choose always, then it's not going to take into account the name of the meshes, so it's not going to do that technique I have discussed earlier, and we basically renamed and separated the meshes for nothing. And if you use this always, which is not a bad thing, but it depends on the mesh you're baking, you can find out that there is going to be bleeding, and that's going to be very visible in the ambient occlusion and the AD map. So there's going to be artifacts in there. For our asset, I'm going to use by mesh name. As you can see, you use the prefix low and high, and in our naming in here. So this is all you need to do. Now I'm going to go into ID and make sure this is material color. For this to work, you need to make sure that the color, the material that you've used, has the color put into base color. So if you're using the color just in here in the viewport display, but this is set to white as default, it's not going to work. So yeah, make sure you have the colors put like this, and now I can just go and do bake selected textures. Alright, and now as you can see, we have a baked mesh, and look at all these details on the pillow. There were none before, and now we have all the nice sculpted detail from this into this low poly version, and this is exactly what we wanted. This is how you keep a lot of detail into your asset without actually causing performance issues and using up a lot of vertices and a lot of poly count. Now what I would do is I'm gonna inspect my mesh and see if there's any kind of bleeding or errors whatsoever around. If there are, then I would look after fixing those, but I don't see any issues right now. All the issues I'm seeing, like those jagged lines and whatnot, this is because of the low resolution of 1K that we've used, and those are not going to be present when we are baking in 4K or even 8K, so I'm not going to worry about those. I don't even care about them. I'm just looking for actual errors, not just bad resolution. Okay, there are no errors, so what I'm going to do is go bake again. I'm now going to use an 8K because I want the most resolution, the most detail for this. I always do an 8K for baking, even if it takes a bit more time. I just want the detail. So you know, we are doing this for a AAA game, and I want to give our clients all the detail that there is, not just chipping out on doing 4K or something else. Alright, so everything is working fine. I'm just changing the resolution from 1K to 8K, and I'm just going to go bake selected textures one more time, wait for it to finish, and then I'll be back to you. Alright, and now I'm back with our 8K bake, and this is how the asset is looking so far. So we have a nice deal of of detail. The jagged lines are no longer present, and everything is looking smooth and nice. Alright, only now we can continue and actually just start texturing this asset. For this, I have prepared a set of textures. They are all from Quixel Megascans, so feel free to take whatever you want from there and use it. Okay, so this is the textures I'm going to use. So we have this fabric, we have this fabric, and we have this fabric as well. So 3 sets of fabric. I'm just going to go into each one of those, and I'm going to take the maps that I'll be using. So albedo, normal, and roughness. I'm going to drop those in here. Now I'm going to go to the next one, albedo, normal, roughness, drag those into here, and the last one as well. So just like this. Now, okay, I didn't do it right. So this in here and those in here. Now everything's alright. Now I'm going to click on the first, shift click on the last one, and make those all texture because that's what they are. I'm going to import this into the current session and go import. I'm going to wait for a second for those to import completely, and now they're available just down here in my shelf. Now what I'm going to do is this. So I know that this asset is basically going to use 4 different materials. So it's going to use 1 fabric for the whole armchair, 1 fabric texture for each of the pillows because I don't want them to be the same, and there's going to be a wood texture for the legs as well. So that's 4 unique materials for the whole asset. Now, how I like to do this and stay organized is I like to create a group, a folder for each of the materials, and then do my work in that group. So what I'm going to do now is create a texture, a material, a fill layer, that's what it's called, and I'm just going to start and drag those textures. So albedo to albedo, normal to normal, just like this, and roughness into roughness. Alright, this is nice. This is obviously way too big, so I'm going to scale this up like 10 or something. Yeah, this is looking a bit more like how it should look. I'm also contemplating on rotating this by 90 degrees. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, I like this a lot more. I think the directionality is the way it should be. I think this is how a normal armchair would look like if it had this pattern in it. Of course, you should always look at reference images and try to copy and mimic what you see in there to get the most realistic results, but this being a tutorial, I just want to be quick and I want to show you my workflow for texturing an asset like this one. Alright, so I have this fill layer already in here, and you know, it's looking really nice. What I'm going to do now is create a folder, and I'm just going to add that fill layer into that folder, and now this folder is going to represent the whole material, that I'm going to use. So all the other special effects and layers that I'm going to use for texturing this part, this fabric, is going to go under this folder. So this way you have a nice and organized workflow. Now obviously I want to make this texture, this set of texture visible just on this part, so no pillows and no legs. The way you do that is right click on this group and go add mask with color selection. Now when you do this, you'll get these properties in here, and what you want to do is go pick a color. Now this is going to show the ID map that you have that you've created, that you've baked, and you simply click on the color, on the portion that you want this texture to be visible, in my case this big red in here, and the texture will only be present in this part, as you can see. So the legs and the pillows are completely empty, there's no texture, and now we can only texture this part. Now the way I like to move along is completely texture this part that I've started and then just move on with the next one. Alright, now the first thing I want to do is add some sharpness into this texture, because even though this looks nice from this distance, I want to give our clients the ability to have cameras and renders and players reaching out kind of to this distance and still have a lot of detail and have those nice sharp pixels in there. Because right now it looks kind of low poly, it looks kind of like low resolution, but there is a quick thing we can do, and that is select our texture, right click on it, go add filter and choose sharpen, and this is going to make this super sharp. I'm just going to decrease the intensity to maybe like 0.6, and now look at this sharp texture. So this is how it looks now, and this is without. So definitely a lot of more detail in there, even though it is pretty much fake, you know, there's no more resolution in there, it's just sharp, it's just a sharpen effect, but it looks good even from a distance like this. Just look at the pores that you can see in here, and I take that out and it's all gone without the sharpening. Alright, so this is a first step I always do in texturing. I always make sure that my textures are nice and sharp, and actually this sharpen method will give your assets a more high quality look with the cost of, you know, nothing, just a simple filter. Alright, what I want to do next is I want to add some damage, because the environment that this asset is going to be put into requires that our asset has gone through a lot, and to make that visible, I'll have to add some wear and tear, some rips, and, you know, nice detail like this. And I think that I'll start with some ripped parts of this, and for that I'll add a new fill layer just like this, and I'll just use one of the materials in Subspader. So I'll search for a fabric, something like, look, this fabric soft. Let's see what we have in here. I don't know, let's just use like the fabric rough. Maybe this works, we can always change that. So I'm clicking on this and it gets applied over the entire mesh. The same as I've done before, I'll increase the scale to maybe 4 and see how everything's looking like. I think this is still a little bit too big, so I'm going to go to 6. I think this is alright, maybe let's see, a 7. Yeah, alright, let's go 7. And the same as before, I'm going to right click, add filter, and do a sharpen in this. And this is obviously way too much. I'm going to go like 0.3 and look at the difference, maybe even a 0.35. Yeah, this is definitely looking really nice like this. So what this texture is, basically this texture will be like the material that's underneath this pattern. So I'll right click this and add a black mask like this, so now everything is completely invisible. But what I'm going to do is going to alphas, and I'm going to look for an alpha that's kind of resembling a tear, or something that's like a ripped part, and maybe this dirt brush could work. I don't know, perhaps something like this. But before we do that, I want to go to height. Do I have some height here? Height range. I'll look into that later. So right now I'm going to the mask. I'll increase this and I'll paint some of this like that. And this should act like a ripped portion of the armchair, so something like this perhaps. And I want to make sure that my brush is a bit more sharp, so not that soft. So I just increase the hardness and I'll go to pass like this, something like that. You know, just spend the time and do it nicely and make sure you get whatever you want to get out of this. Okay, so this is our first ripped portion. Now what I want to do is I want to add a little bit of height difference, because right now this is looking like it's all in the same fabric, but I want to make this part to look like it's underneath the first one. And for that I'll just play a bit with height range, I guess. Probably the right one. And I don't know, I'll just play around with this and see what changes occur. Yeah, alright, so this is the setting I wanna play with. So as you can see, I lowered this a bit and you can already see a little bit of height difference. So if I go extreme like this, it'll be more obvious. See, so just look at this. It now looks like we have this part is underneath the first layer of fabric. So I'm just going to, no, not like that, or maybe like this. Is it looking better? Let's see. So if we go like full, it looks like this, which also looks good. And if I go back to 0, it looks like this. And I honestly think I'm going to use it like this for now. I don't understand which one is making it look more like it's underneath. Maybe this one is more appropriate than this one. I know, I'll just keep it like this for now. And this is our first broken patch. So as you can see, we have that in there. Maybe it's a bit too much. I'll hide a bit. Yeah, just like that. And now I'm going to go over little bits and add a bit of wear in other parts as well. So here, like this, and maybe in here as well a little bit. Yeah. And you know, be creative. This is your asset. You wanna make it look however you feel like it should look like in the environment that you're going to place this. You can make it as damaged or as clean as you like. There's no right or wrong. Obviously, this is a very, very creative process in which you just make stuff happen and bring it back to life. Now, so right now, for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to go a bit extreme, and just to demonstrate what you can do. So I'm going to add some there in a lot more places than I would have normally. Then I actually done the first time I've textured this, because I've textured this before as part of the creating the pack or a store. Yeah, so just go like this. All right, I guess let's just do a little bit in here as well. Yeah, just like that. Just like that, nothing too crazy. Oh, come on, just save already. Come on, stop taking up my time. Oh, come on, this is taking forever. I should disable this feature, whatever that is. Yeah, alright, just do a couple of this in here. Now I'll call this done. Okay, so this is our first pass, and look at all the rips we have created. We have painted onto our asset, and as you can see, it's looking really nice. I like this part and this part over here, this part as well. Yeah, you know, again, just spend time and paint those however detail you want. Again, this is me just making a tutorial and I want to be fast about it. Alright, so we have our patches like this. This is looking really nice. Now, what's next? So when I'm texturing an asset, this is what I'm thinking. Okay, so I have this armchair. It's been put into the environment that I'm going to put it, and I'll try to think about what happens to this asset over time. So, you know, there's patches, rips like this going to appear. There's going to be a lot of people are going to sit in this if it's been there for a long time, so their butt is going to be printed in here. There's going to be dust, there's going to be dirt accumulated, there's going to be a little bit of speckles and maybe some decoloration going on in certain parts. There's going to be spills, so like people come in here, sit in this, and they're drinking or eating something, and there's going to be spillage. And this is all this mental playground, as you want to call it, thinking about what happens to this asset in like a real world scenario helps you come up with more and more detail and add more story and character to the asset. So as I said, I've added those rips in here. Now I want to add a butt print in this part, so I want to make sure that people understand that there's been a lot of sitting down on this. And for that, what I'm going to do is create a layer, a simple layer, not a fill layer. And what I'm going to do is, come on, I'm going to, let me just make this a little bit bigger. No, I can't, doesn't matter. I'm going to disable everything except for color and height, and in the end I'm going to use only height, but I want the color as well so I can see where I'm painting. Okay, I'm going to choose another alpha in here, so I don't know, doesn't really matter. I'll just take like this brush, or even, yeah, no, I'll just take that brush, and I'm going to paint in here. As you can see, right now we are just painting white, but if we go to the height and drag this all the way down, you can see that we are basically painting height information, and we are making this look like it's imprinted into the ground. That brush doesn't really look that great, so I'm going to choose another one. I'll just use this normal one like this. Can we go even lower than the -1? Can go to -2? No, we cannot. Alright, doesn't even matter. So yeah, I'm just going to go and a bit those, but I'm not going to use the height down to full power. I'm just going to use like something in between, and I'm just going to paint across those areas. You can't really tell it, but when you view it in in the appropriate lighting and angle, it'll be visible. So if you look at it from kind of this position, you can see there's some height information there. If I disable and enable this, this goes a long way, even if it is this subtle. So don't worry about not popping this into everyone's eyes, because real world is full of subtleties and you want to capture that as well. Alright, so I have some kind of height information, as you can see in there. That's from the butts of people and everyone sitting. Now what do I want to do next? I want to do a bit of decoloration, I guess. Yeah, we can do that. So for that I'm going to use a fill layer, and I'm going to go to textures, and I'm going to use the same texture, which is this one. Yeah, that's one. Alright, and I'm only going to use the color of this. Alright, and I'm going to, so it's scale 10, I'm going to scale this 10 as well to match the other layer, turn it 90. Alright, now this is perfect. And what I'm going to use right now is I'm going to right click on that, and I'm going to go add levels, and I'm going to play with this and make it look a bit more decolorated. So not like that, but yeah, something like this, just to do a little bit of contrast, less contrast into this, to make it look decolorated a bit. Yeah, something like that. Looks old, and that's what I'm after. And now that I have this base layer, I'm going to right click and do a black mask over it. And this is where smart masks come really handy. Smart masks are well, essentially procedural masks that you can drop over your layer, and they'll do like a really nice job at painting this in certain specific areas, so you don't have to do that manually. So right now I'm going to use something called like surface world. Yeah, I'm just going to drag this over my layer like this, and you'll see my layer appearing, like the decoloration is going to appear in certain places, and it's going to add that extra bit of detail into our mesh. As you can see, there's all this decoloration going on. Again, it's subtle, but that's what we are after. I'm going to go into the mask. I'm going to go into this mask editor, and what I want to do is increase the contrast a bit. Alright, now again we have these decolorated parts here, all around our asset. You can see this is the base color, and those are all like parts of decoloration. I'm going to go a bit more with the balance, like this, and this is what we have so far. I'm going to select the asset, and I want to decrease the opacity of this effect a bit, because it's pretty strong right now, and instead of adding more detail, it kind of takes away from the whole feeling. So I'm going to go 0 and just increase this bit by bit until it's enough. You can see it, but it's also subtle enough, so I'm going like 40 perhaps. This is how it's looking. And what else I want to do is I want to use those parts, so these decolorated parts, and I want to make those a little bit more rough. So I'm going to enable roughness, and I'm gonna go way up, like here. and this is going to add a little bit of information in the roughness channel as well. So as you can see, there's this part is more reflective than this part we've just created. If I turn that off, so I want that to be a bit roughened and go back to 40. Yeah, that's it. Okay, we've just added our decoloration, the asset, and what I'm going to do next is I'll add another layer, and what I'm going to do is I'll choose some kind of color, and I'm going to create some spillage. And for that I think I'm going to use a yellowish disgusting color, something like this, and I'm going to choose an alpha from here. Let's see, maybe something like this. Yeah, that would work. I don't know what kind of spillage this is, but we're just gonna use our imagination. Alright, so where would I want to do this spilling? I think I want to do it a bit here, something like that. I don't know what happened there. Someone threw up. I don't care. But yeah, that's one spill. I'm going to drop this, something like that. We can also add blending modes, so we can play around with those and see if you get something interesting. Don't use those that much, even though I probably should. You know, just look around, find something, and then play with the opacity until it's looking pretty much nice. I'm going to add one more around there, something around here. Yeah, nothing too much. And let's just, for fun, add another layer of those. Choose another brush, change the color to, I don't know, let's do some white, I guess. Something like that, and let's do some roughness and make this a bit more reflective like this, and let's do something around here. That's nice, and again just play with the opacity, kind of like that. Okay, that works. Nothing too fancy. No, I don't like that in there, just something quick like that. Alright, this is the details I've added. What else? I want to add a really subtle layer of dust. So for that I'm going to add a fill layer. The color, this grayish white color, is perfect for dust, so I'm not going to change that. I'm only going to use the roughness and the color, and I want to do roughness a little bit high, like 0.7, because dust isn't that reflective, as anyone can know. And I'm gonna go to smart masks, and there's a smart mask already created for this. It's called Dust Soft or Dust Soft 2. Just use whichever one you want. I'll just drag this over my layer, and it's going to automatically create a mask for me, just like this. See? So this is all the dust. Let's try with this one as well, see what we get. No, not like that. So just remove the mask, and let's try with this one. Just see, this one looks much better, much more realistic. And obviously this is way too much dust, so I'm gonna take this down and increase it. Yeah, something like this works. So 11 opacity. You can see the difference is subtle, but it's there. You can increase this if you think this it's not enough. As you can see, nice and dusty. And the last layer of detail I'm adding, pretty much anytime I'm texturing something, it's a dirt build-up. So I'm going to add another fill layer like this. I'm gonna go with a dark color, maybe a bit of saturation as well. I'll just take out the normal and the metal. I'm going to keep color, roughness and height. So we have this dark color, dirt-like color. Roughness should be really high because again, dirt is not that reflective. And for height, I'll just do a teeny touch of height just to add some height information into our asset. And what I'm going to do is right click on this, add a black mask, then right click again, add generator, and from this list just choose dirt. And as you can see, it's added all of this black dirt, which is way too much. It's looking like this has been abandoned for a lot of time, and it's not what I want. So just go into dirt and decrease the dirt level, something like this. And now I'm also going to decrease the opacity of this, so maybe something like 70. And look at how much it makes the asset pop out. It's also a layer of dirt, but it's also working as a layer of ambient occlusion because it's making all those crevices and gaps look even more three-dimensional. You can see. Alright, so this is all I'm doing for the main armchair. This is how it's looking. I guess this is pretty nice. I'll just move on to our next pillow. So as I said, this is the whole material for our armchair body. So if I disable this, everything goes away. This is a really nice way to stay organized and know what's everything. So I'm just gonna call this main, and now I know, and if I share this file, everyone knows what the hell this is, and they can work really easily with this workflow. Okay, so now creating a new field layer, and I'm going to go into my textures. I'm going to use one of the other fabric textures, this one. The normal map, and now the roughness map here. Alright, now I'm going to create another group and just repeat what we have done. So we have this group, so this is pillow 2. I know I just want to do this pillow, and I know I have renamed pillow 2 and I want to keep the name convention right. So add a color selection, pick the color, select this color, and now we have that texture on this pillow only. Again, make this bigger, something like this. 10 seems to work perfectly. I'm going to add sharpening once again to bring the details out. In this case, sharpening of 1 looks pretty nice, but just want to go a bit down, so 0.9. This is the difference. Look at how much detail this sharpening brings out. So this looks, low resolution, and now bam, 8K, directly 8K. Alright, we have our base texture for this. I don't really like how this is showing in here, because in real life I don't think it would look like this. So what I'm going to do is offset this texture a bit, perhaps like this, and I don't want it to be centered, so maybe like this. Maybe if I go like 11, no, if I go like 8, yeah, okay, I'm just gonna keep this at 8. And pretty much I'm going to repeat the same process I have done with the main part. So I'm asking myself, okay, this pillow has been sitting here, what happened with it? What's its story? What days has this pillow seen? How many people has sat in this? For how long did they use it to do something that could potentially dirt this up or not? And I'm basically going to do the same thing I've done before. So I'm going to add a bit of color spots. So I'm going to add, you know, like a maybe red color. I don't know what happened. Maybe this is some nail polish or something that someone had dropped in here onto this pillow. I'm going to look for a brush. Okay, this looks fine, and I'm just going to paint some details. So there's a spill in there, there's another spill over there, and I think this is enough. Just going to make those a bit more transparent, more subtle. That's enough. Again, now I'm just trying to be quick because I'm basically doing the same thing, and it doesn't make sense to spend the same amount of time explaining something I have already explained. Okay, I've done a little bit of spillage, and I'm just gonna go directly into the last part and add that nice layer of dirt, of dark dirt, roughness, high above, height, a little bit of height, and black mask, generator, dirt. This is a crazy amount of dirt, of course, so just go and decrease the level, and this, I can work with this, maybe even a little bit more, and just decrease the opacity because that's pretty much completely dark. And just look at how fast we have textured this part. So we went from this to this in like what, 4 minutes. Now we're going to do the same for the other pillow. So create a fill layer, drag it out of this, go find my texture is this one, so the base color, the normal map, and the roughness. Now I'm going to create another group, put this in here, call this pillow 1, color selection, so you know, exactly the same thing we've done before. Select this, increase the tiling, maybe 8, maybe 9 even. I know that's looking fine. Again, right click, add filter, sharpen, and just do a 0.66. Before, after, a lot of detail, just how we like it. Again, add some spillage or something in here. No, this time let's do it the other way. We just add a fill layer. Add, like, you know, a white colors, that's fine. We don't want that, I just wanted the roughness. I'll go to a smart mask. I'm going to use the surface one once again, drop that over there, and there's a bit of decoloration going on. I'm going to increase the balance because I want more of that. I want more of it to be visible. I guess something like that, and I can just decrease this effect, something like this, nice and subtle. And now just create another one of those, go into the dark, roughness high up, a bit of height information, you know, same old black, what's that, mask. Go to generator and go dirt. Again, a lot of dirt, I don't want that much dirt, decrease the dirt. Say dirt a lot of times, you know, those are all specific, really specific steps. So just repeat everything like me. Okay, decrease this, bring it up until, you know, looks kind of nice. So look at that, really nice. Look at how this asset came out in the end, really nice. Now for the last part, just add a wood texture. So again, as we've done before, create a new fill layer. Just going to use something that this software provides me, so I'm going to materials. I'll choose like a wood walnut. Yeah, this is perfect. We get some wood in here, create a new group, drag this into the group. Come on, rename it legs. Color selection, pick the legs. No, it's just the legs. Increase this to maybe 5, maybe 8. I know this is a really small portion of our asset. No one's going to look at this from up close, so you can, you can let it easy with this part because it's not that important. Okay, right click. Let's see how sharpening works on this. Yeah, that's really nice. A lot of detail came out of that. Before, after. You can go extreme with this. I don't want to. I'll leave that as it is. And since this is sitting on the ground, the legs should build up a lot of ground dirt, so I'm going to create that. I'm going to add another fill layer. I'm going to add a darken color, something like this, a bit of red in there. No metalness, no normal map. Roughness is pretty high. Height, and there should be height as well. And I'm going to use something else for this. I'm going to go into the smart masks, and I'm going to use, where is it? Come on, it's this ground dirt. Okay, so drag this on top. And I'm going to edit this a bit because it's covering up the entire of the legs so far, so I'm decreasing that until I get something I like. So something like that. As you can see, there's some dirt buildup. I want to change the color because it's blending with the leg too much. There goes something like this. Yeah, that's looking a lot better. So this is what we got for the legs. And if we really want to do another layer of detail, I'll just create a new layer map, a new fill layer. I'm going to take everything out except for the height, and on this I'm going to use a smart mask, and I'm going to look for Uber edges, I guess that's called, if I remember correctly. Where is it? Come on. Edges Uber, yeah, this one. Drag it in here. I'm actually going to turn the color on so I can see what it picked up. Okay, those are the select areas, that's fine. No, just take the color off. And now if I drag the height down, you get some of those nice detail as if there's dumps and pimples in this, and that's just another layer of detail. So from this to this, works. And I guess this is pretty much our whole asset. This is how it's looking like. So if I go into under shader, where is it? Like quality, go ultra, just so you can see a little bit better. And yeah, this is how our final asset is looking like. This is actually how we work. This is our workflow when texturing assets for either for games, basically for everything you want to use your asset for. This is the process we go through. So we start in Blender. Someone, our modeler, I should say, makes the model based on my instructions. He then UV unwraps everything, sends it my way, and either I or the texture artist is doing the texturing. So depending on the project and what else I have going on, I either take what Octavian makes me and bring that into Substance Painter and texture that, or I either give it back to our texture artist Buksha to texture them, and I can have all the time I need to do other more prioritized tasks. From here, you just go Ctrl+Shift+E, and you get this export textures, and you can, you have a lot of templates in here you can use. So you have like the normal ones. You can go PBR metallic roughness, which is what most 3D softwares are using. You can go, game engine specific, and go like Unity, HDRP, metallic. You can even go Unreal Engine packed, and it's going to give you those already packed into the template that you're going to use. For our store, we usually do. Oh, come on, not now. For our store, we usually do the normal. We do it like normal separated channels, so albedo, roughness, normal map, all of that. So our customers have the ability to use it in every 3D software they could use. But we also add the textures packed for Unity, for Unreal. So if you intend to use the asset in those pieces of software, you won't have to do any kind of converting and reworking the textures to make them compatible. You just go into the appropriate folder and use those textures, and everything is perfectly converted and ready for you. Alright guys, so this has been the tutorial for now on texturing using Substance Painter. I hope you enjoyed and learned a bunch of new things watching this and following along perhaps. Yeah, thank you for watching, and see you with the next tutorial.